recording going. And now we go back to the actual video and let's get started. Forgive me for that.
This block here was horrible before we started working on this block. As a matter of fact, next block over there kind of shows the condition of how this block looks. So you see all these houses that, so now we're gonna walk down to a building that shows you the old construction, how the original builders built these houses before. So you all can kind of walk through that. You're gonna get a contrast to see how when their development does their total gut and why you wanna do a total gut. Here,
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video. That should set the context for what the roundtable is about. Kind of our model is about buying up the block of properties in Baltimore City, transforming those blocks into thriving communities. And we do that by development without displacement, using a rent-to-own model. We're going to kind of go through our steps and our methodology, but that's kind of what the roundtable is really built on and really based upon. So let me share screen again with you and kind of walk through today's presentation. So I hope everybody can see the screen, but this is the screen we're going to be actually talking about. We're going to talk about the business of real estate investing as it relates to Baltimore City. Now, we're going to start off with the problem. The 10 major problems that we see the real estate investors face when investing in Baltimore City are, number one, sticker shock. Been surprised at how inexpensive the properties are here because people overpay when they go to auctions and bid. They can't believe they could buy a house for $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000, you know, where in just down the road, 45 miles in DC, you can't buy a property for that inexpensively. You can't get anything probably for less than $150,000, regardless of the condition of the property, you know. So, or if it is, there's a lot of people bidding on that. So Baltimore City has a lot of those properties that are under $50,000 that you can actually purchase. A lot of those properties actually are under $30,000 that you can purchase. And some of them are even livable, where you can move in with just doing a handyman, paint, carpet, new windows, new doors, and you're in for less than $10,000, $15,000. Now, you may have to remediate the mold, maybe mold in the property. Definitely probably going to be lead-based paint, so you got to encapsulate that. But other than those two issues, you can actually have a livable property. Is it going to be a property that a lot of people are going to want? No. But is it possible? Yes. Number two, no exit strategy. A lot of people get started real estate investing, and again, this issue is really kind of a issue that is not just dependent upon Baltimore, but this is anywhere where people invest in real estate, where they see that they buy a real estate property or they jump into real estate investing because a friend told them that, or they're looking to get rich quick and they pay for some guru's course and they just go out here and just get started, or some wholesale person decided to sell them a property and it told them that they had great comps, and people buy property just because someone else suggested it to them that it would be a great deal, which I think is a major problem. It should never be done. You should never buy real estate, regardless of the situation, regardless of the scenario, unless you are clear, absolutely, on your exit strategy. What are you going to do with the property once you purchase it? And you've done the numbers on it. You know exactly what it's going to cost you to renovate the property. You know, what's going to, I mean, approximately, I would say, not exactly. It's difficult to get exact depending on the market conditions, because in real estate, timing is everything, and you might miss out on a good deal trying to get exact numbers, but you should be able to get approximate numbers within a $10,000 to $15,000 at the max range that you want to fall within, and just kind of have that as a rule of thumb. You know, within $10,000 to $15,000 of this estimate should be where it's going to cost to renovate this property. You should also know how much it's going to cost if you're going to rent the property out. How much can you actually be able to charge market rate? Will you be able to get any kind of subsidy program from the city or the state that allows you to, you know, get 80 to 90% of rent paid, or even 100% of rent paid in some situations? You know, or are you going to renovate and resell the property to someone else as a homeowner, you know, a home buyer, I should say? So those things you want to have thought through before you pull the trigger on buying a property, regardless of the price that it is, because if not, you will be sitting in a situation where you're stuck. And the worst thing you do is buy a property and have to sit on it while you try to figure out how to go about getting that exit strategy resolved. Whether you're going to rent it out to someone, whether you're going to resell it to someone, whether you're going to wholesale it to someone, whatever your exit strategy is, you must know what it is before you buy the property. And so many people go wrong on that step. Number 3, lack of knowledge about Baltimore City. Not knowing the city. This is a different animal than any other city. I'm sure every city is different, but Baltimore City has this really own unique type of economics in this city when it comes to real estate investing. They have things called invisible lines. Yes, invisible lines, where people will say a property in one block, for example, of Utah Street, in a certain block of Utah, 1600 block of Utah, you go into the 1700 block of Utah, and the property value is $50,000 to $65,000 or even $100,000 difference in price, just based off going across that block. And what people will say is, well, that's an invisible line. So you got to know that. You got to know why houses are available at a purchase price of $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. Why do those properties exist? Why are they available at that price point? It's a reason. It's not just because it's a great deal. It's a reason. It's because more likely it's going to be in a bad neighborhood. It's going to have a lot of crime. It's going to have high level of what I call energy on the block, meaning that you can go to that block and see actual live drug transactions taking place on the block. You know, so those things are going to be something that you got to be mindful of. You also want to know, for example, how many neighborhoods are in Baltimore City. Baltimore City neighborhood is a city of neighborhoods, they call it. And I've seen the range being anywhere from 200 being the low end up to 265 being the high end. So, and the difference being certain neighborhoods are officially registered with the city as a neighborhood, others are not. They just, because they've been there for years and people in the city just acknowledge them, but they don't have an official designation of a neighborhood, but yet and still, it's still a cluster of properties. You want to know kind of what drives it, you know, how many schools are in Baltimore City? What's the type of schools in Baltimore City? What's the closest employer? What's the public transportation like in those communities? You want to know these things before you start beginning to invest in Baltimore City. Then number 4, not knowing what is the most valuable resource. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to give you a scenario and you want to think through from this scenario, which of the 3 of these are the most valuable. And again, the answer depends on the city that you're in, and the answer also depends on the real estate market that you're in. But in Baltimore City, it's usually going to be one answer continuously because of the number of blighted vacant properties in Baltimore City. So the scenario is this. Of the 3 resources, which one do you think is the most valuable? A, being properties, meaning a person approached you and said, listen, I got a lot of properties, I'm selling them. Is this person more valuable than B, another person coming and saying, well, I got the capital for you. So you're looking for investment capital, talk to me. I can give you loans, whether they're hard money loans, commercial loans, investor loans. I got capital, talk to me. or the third person being C, been a person saying, well, listen, I got people who want to live in these properties for you. So you start getting properties, I can definitely supply people for those properties. So again, my question for you is understanding which of these is the three most valuable to you in Baltimore City at this given time. Is it A, the person with the properties, B, the person with the capital, or C, the person with the people? Now, I'm gonna give you a second to think about that answer. All right, seconds up. My answer is C, because Baltimore has over 16,000 blighted properties in Baltimore City. And some people say between 16,000 up to 40,000. Again, the number varies, it changes because people move out, people get evicted, properties fall in disrepair, tax sales, all those things change those numbers quite a bit. It's also counting commercial properties. The 16,000 actually refers to the properties that the city actually owns, but then the city doesn't own all the vacant properties in the city. So that's why that number ranges anywhere between 16,000 and 40,000. So a person that says they got a lot of properties, that's a dime a dozen. Baltimore City has a lot of inventory. So that person's not that valuable. Quality, good properties, it's a different story, but just properties in general, person's not that valuable. And out of the three people, I'm giving you choices. B, capital. Again, that's someone saying that I got capital for you. I can tell you this, I've learned this in real estate, and most people who got experience in real estate investing will know this as well, that when it comes to real estate investing, money follows the deal. So if you got a great deal, you can always get capital for it. So it's really not that difficult getting capital, right? And it also depends on what kind of capital, and is it affordable, good capital, right? Because that also has to be a caveat. Because somebody can say, yeah, I got great capital, but I want 50%, and you can only use it for 16, 18 months. So they want 50% return, they want 18 months. And they also want like 2 or 3 points down, point being a percentage of the overall price of the deal. So if it's $100,000, what they want is $1,000 down, right? 1%, or in that case, $3,000 would be 3%. This just kind of gives you the idea of where I'm going with this. So all capital is not good capital, and you got to make sure that the capital is something that you can afford to use, that fits within your budget. As far as you run the numbers on it, you can utilize the capital, pay the capital back, pay the holding expenses and all those things, and still make a profit. That has to be thought through. So the person with the capital, again, is not that important in this scenario, because like I said before, if you find a great deal, you can always get capital. Now you have C. C is the people. Now I picked C because I believe that C is the most valuable resource in Baltimore City. Like I said before, there's a lot of properties, a lot of blighted neighborhoods. And so getting people now to want to stay in these properties that you've purchased and renovated is going to be where you got to have a lot of the first three dealt with. Sticker shock, you didn't get a bad deal. You already identified what your exit strategy is, and you know the city. So now C comes into play, because you don't want to put people on the block that nobody wants to live on, and people haven't been living on for a while because there's active gang activity on that block, or that people sell drugs on those blocks, or there's been murders on that block. All that is what you want to get that information and get that knowledge. Number 5 is systems. No systems, I should say. And I'm a system engineer by training. That's my background. So I'm big on systems. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, not understanding the importance of systems and the power behind systems. Now, systems allow you to create scalability. It allows you to duplicate yourself. It allows you to manage things much more efficiently and much more effectively, where systems come into play, such as marketing systems. That's one way. How do you go about marketing your properties so that investors know you want to buy properties, so people can start sending you deals? Because you want to be, if you're really going to be an active real estate investor and you're into the game for a while, you want to receive about maybe anywhere from 30 properties you want to look at on a weekly basis. Because again, like I said, Baltimore City has so many properties to choose from. You want to have a system in place that lets you look at 30 properties on a weekly basis, just so you can make a determination that you're going to put a contract on 10 to get 1 or 2 of those accepted. So now if you do it on a monthly basis, now you're looking at 120 properties on a monthly basis, where you're actually putting out contracts of possibly 30 properties, which is a lot of contracts, but then only getting 4 or 5 offers accepted. So that's the kind of scale you got to look at to try to find the right deal that fits your numbers, that's the right neighborhood, all those type of things. That's how you avoid getting stuck with a bad property. Another systems is your database for investors. You want to be able to have people you can call immediately and say, I got a property. It fits your criteria because you in your database, you have that criteria what the investor is looking for. If you're a wholesaler, if you are a renovator and reseller, having a database of your contractors and their specialty and making sure you understand what jobs they're on, if they're not working on your job, and are they available for you? If you take down this property, would they be available for you to, come and work with you to get that property done in the time that you need it done? And then finally, a database for people that you're marketing to find potential buyers or renters for your properties. You want to have all these kind of systems ongoing within your business in order to make sure that it runs efficiently and effectively. Number 6, no team. Again, this is where a lot of people go wrong as well. You don't want to buy a property and then go hire contractors, and you don't have any relationship with these contractors at all. Seeing so many people make this mistake, because again, they jumped out there with no extra strategy, jumped out there, listened to someone else tell them they should buy this property, that it's a great deal, etc. So now they're stuck trying to find contractors that they don't have any relationship whatsoever with, and trying to get money from folks they don't have, whether it's a hard money lender, private investor that you don't have money with, a relationship with. All these things lead to problems in real estate transactions going wrong, and you just being out there. Your realtor is also a person that's a part of your team, connecting you to knowledge about the neighborhood. And they got to be a realtor that's familiar with Baltimore City. Don't just get a Maryland licensed realtor who lives in Anne Arundel, Howard County, Montgomery County, Baltimore County, and just because they have a license, they can show you the property. If they don't know Baltimore City, they're not going to be very much help to you. And that's what I see a lot of people do wrong as well. Come here with realtors, buy properties from auctions because the realtor is trying to turn them on to those suggestions, and the realtors have no knowledge about Baltimore City. And so this person is now stuck with buying a bad property. Number 7, no social capital. Social capital meaning the amount of people who know you and would refer you and stand on your track record of your quality and your character as a person. That's what social capital is in a nutshell. How many people know you exist and know the value that you bring to the situations and would on any given situation refer or recommend people to you? The more people you have do that, the more social capital you have. Social capital is a key for getting things done in life in general, and business in particular, and real estate is definitely critical and is necessary. So without social capital, you're not going to be able to do very well with a broader real estate development model. Social capital is also building with institutional organizations like nonprofit organizations or community-based nonprofit organizations that know what you're doing. They can connect you with the right people on the right block, because Baltimore City has different people on different blocks that are block captains. And so being able to talk and converse with that block captain, they could be critical with helping you understand the conditions of the block, why the block looks this way, the property that you're purchasing, how long it's been vacant, how many other people have tried to renovate their property and failed, what kind of other activities is going on in the neighborhood. That kind of information is invaluable to you. And without social capital, you can't get access to these individuals. And then also having a higher purpose behind what you're doing, which is why the roundtable emphasizes that as our tagline, because we invest with a higher purpose. So we're not looking to buy a property, renovate the property, and then don't live in the community, don't live in the city actually, and then just going to put a subsidy type person to rent their property from us just so we can get cash flow, but we don't really care about the impact that us putting that person in that property is going to have on the neighborhood. And people would not like living next to someone who's just a renter, especially if it's a homeowners and you put a renter there who's going to bring in noise, who's going to bring in disrespectful people visiting them, who park their cars wrong, who come and litter on the block, who come at all hours of the night and show no form of respect for the community, the neighborhood. This is what you want to avoid, and this is what you want to make sure you don't bring that type of energy. So a lot of communities are going to be resistant to you coming in as a potential renovator and renter. Particularly, a lot of neighborhoods in Baltimore City are going to be neighborhoods, especially where all the properties are, that was a high concentration of blighted properties. They have already a high concentration of renters. So if you're buying a property from a city and you got to get a neighborhood community support to endorse your development plan, then you're going to get shot down if all you want to do is buy the property, rent it out. Now, it's not as important to get neighborhood approval if you're buying it from a wholesaler or directly from another landlord or the property owner themselves, but then you still are going to not get community support. So if someone breaks in your house, no one on the block's going to look out for you, no one's going to care, and so you're going to be pretty much on an island by yourself in a neighborhood you're not familiar with, and not have anybody looking out for your best interest, i.e. your investment, and more likely you're going to fail and you're going to lose a lot of money. But that's another issue. Another thing is lack of a higher purpose, which goes on to number 8. This is where you just want to make money. That's all you really got involved in real estate investing, is just to make money. And again, if that's your goal, then you're not going to do very well. You're not going to be successful with that particular strategy, and you won't get a lot of support. The roundtable was able to come to Baltimore City. I've only been here for 6 years, and I was able to build a lot of coalitions with institutional partners, employers, city officials, nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations, and community leaders, because the roundtable's higher purpose was to do real estate development without displacement. Excuse me for that. And as a result, we were able to get people to start referring to us and making alliances with us. And to this day, we still do. As a matter of fact, I can share with you an example of had a property as a roundtable member who already purchased the property, but then they joined the roundtable later after they had already purchased the property that was in Pigtown. And the property was a property brought from the auction, and it was one that a previous developer had purchased, renovated, I would say about 80% of the property, couldn't get it finished, they ran out of money. And then the hard money lender or whoever the lender was ended up taking the property back from the investor and then put it back at the auction. And so my roundtable member, like I said, purchased the property, came from Canada, didn't know anything at all about Baltimore City, but just heard that it was some great deals here. Real estate was considerably cheaper than it is in Canada. So he came down here, bought the property from the auction cash, and took about maybe 5 to 6 months to get people even interested in the property, because he still had to finish it up. So he had to come here and hire contractors in the city he didn't know at all. So of course he got taken advantage of by the contractors, because that's what people do in real estate. It's the business where people will take advantage of your lack of knowledge. They will exploit your ignorance in any way, shape, or form. This is the culture of this business. If you don't know anything about contractors, working with contractors will use that against you. They will overcharge you. They will cause you to put money down for things because they're not good. A lot of contractors are not good business people. They may be great at the technical skills. They may be a great plumber, maybe a great electrician, maybe a great carpenter, but what they're bad at is administrative or running their accounts. So they normally are robbing Peter to pay Paul. So they hit you with, here's where I need to get down to get started. And then they'll leverage that money to the next job. And that's kind of how they live their lives. But it doesn't help you if a contractor's living in that form of fashion, and not having a higher purpose will alienate you from people in the community who want to support you, because Baltimore is really resistant and reluctant to work with people from outside of the community looking to come here and profit from the community. They're not really going to support you in that endeavor, and the roundtable won't either. So that's why we stress the importance of having a higher purpose, which should be to transform these communities, to revitalize these blocks, to improve it so that all the stakeholders benefit, and that you can create wealth for all the stakeholders and rebuild these communities that's troubling. And development without displacement is one of the mantras you should be looking to do and follow suit with. Number 9, no mentor. Again, this is something that a lot of people think that they can navigate the uncertainty and like I said before, the culture of people who take advantage of you in real estate without someone to guide you, someone who's been doing it for a period of time, that knows how to buy a house, that understands how to analyze numbers, that know where to get capital from, that know how to hire and control and manage contractors, that know how to go about marketing and getting the community support and buy-in. If you don't have those kind of individuals working with you as a mentor, then you're out here on your own. And I guarantee you, you're going to make some mistakes. Really, like I told you before, it is the culture of this business to take advantage of anybody who does not know what they are doing. This is not the kind of business where people will be empathetic to your ignorance as it relates to being a real estate investor. It's not going to happen. So from the realtor taking advantage of you, showing you properties and neighborhoods they're not familiar with just so they can get a commission, to the contractors overcharging you or underbidding the job so they can get it. And then when they get the job, they tell you that it's going to cost more than they thought it would be because they didn't really look at the fact that they didn't get into the wall. And because behind the wall, they couldn't see it. See, to me, a good contractor would also tell you that this answer or this estimate doesn't include what could be behind the walls. So if I open up the walls, then this estimate can probably go up $20,000, $30,000, depending on the wiring being bad, depending on the plumbing being bad, etc. So if a contractor doesn't explain that to you, they just tell you, look, it's going to be $30,000 because they want the job. And then once they get started, tell you, no, they need an extra $10,000 for this, they need an extra $15,000 for that. That's a bad contractor in my eyes. And they don't care about you as a client. They only care about their own pockets. And so have a mentor, because here's the rule in real estate. Either you're going to pay on the front end through the training and the education and the mentor, or you're going to pay more on the back end from a lack of experience and buying housing, buying real estate, not knowing what you're doing. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars in the mistake area. And most people who've been in real estate that I know of, I would say all people who've been in real estate that I know of, including myself, we've made painful mistakes that cost us thousands of dollars. And having a mentor that guided me correctly would have saved me the $5,000 a mentor is going to charge you. And a good mentor, I would say, plan for that. Plan, if you really want to get a good mentor, have a budget for about $5,000, people. Let's be realistic. You know, trying to offer somebody who's already making money, who's already successful in what they're doing, who don't really need you at all, and you're going to offer them less than $5,000 for their time. Their time is their most valuable commodity. That's the most valuable asset. And to deal with someone who's new, who's green, and then you coming in trying to be cheap, nobody wants to deal with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't want to pay, and then you're going to have a myriad of questions that you're going to be asking. You need to help. You tell somebody, listen, I got $5,000. I want you to help me, mentor me through my first real estate transactions. I guarantee you, if you get the right mentor, you will not have regret once that transaction is done. As if you get the right mentor. You won't regret saying to yourself, once the transaction is done, once you sold the house, once you made your profit, or once you put someone in there to rent it, or whatever the case may be is your exit strategy, you will not be saying to yourself, I wish I had not paid that $5,000 to that mentor. I could have did this all on my own. I guarantee you won't say that. Now, yeah, you can get a bad mentor who doesn't really help you along, but that's going to come back to your ability to understand how to hire a mentor. And that's where the roundtable can really kind of guide you in that direction and help you identify some great mentors. But again, I recommend having a budget of about $5,000 to be able to pay for someone's time and consideration. That way, the mentor is going to be willing to work with you, look forward to it, and then they can plug you into a lot of the resources and people they have, and you tap into their social capital. So you can leverage that $5,000 in that relationship, that mentor, exponentially, and you get a 10x return on that investment if you leverage it properly. Then finally, number 10, lack of knowledge of self. This is where a lot of people don't like to admit. They don't know who they are, what your strengths are and your weaknesses. And you have to be clear on that. You got to know what your competence overall as relates to financial literacy is concerned. Do you know how to use Excel? Do you know how to analyze a real estate deal? Do you know what numbers are required to, put an offer, right? Do you know how to write a contract? Do you know how to read a contract? Do you know how to communicate and hire contractors? Do you know how to run a business, period? You know, all these things are important. If you don't know that, you got to be real with yourself, and you have to be willing to pay for that. Because again, lack of knowledge of who you are, and this is something I see a lot of people go wrong with. They figure that they know enough, they can just go out here and try on themselves. And they try it themselves. They really don't know what their strengths are and their weaknesses are, because their ego drive them. And ego, yes, I believe it stands as an acronym, the edging guide out. That's what I believe the acronym stands for. You can disagree with that if you want. I believe, because it works for me, it stands for edge and guide out. Because what you're saying is, I guided God. I know what I'm doing. So whether it's God, whether you're Christian, Muslim, atheist, it really doesn't matter. There's a higher source out there, and ego is not going to be aligned with that higher source that you communicate with, that you believe in, that you have faith with. So those are the 10 major problems that I see real estate investors make in Baltimore City. So I hope this is something that kind of sets the context for how I view real estate investing, and why I think it's important for you to understand why you should invest in real estate, but more importantly, invest in yourself by getting a mentor, by joining an organization like the Roundtable if you have a higher purpose. If you don't have a higher purpose and you just want to make money in real estate, you can really care less about improving the conditions of the community, the Roundtable is not going to be a good fit for you, and the rest of this webinar is not really going to resonate with you. And it'd be a great time for you to kind of not listen to any more of this. But if it does resonate with you, now we're going to get into the 7 keys of real estate investing for Baltimore City, so that you can really get a better understanding of what that looks like. Before we do, I'm going to give you an opportunity to get a chance to know me a little bit more and discuss who I am. I'm a business consultant. I have over 30 years as a real estate and business consultant. I work for an organization, moves out in Hamilton, as a system engineer. So I'm a very systematic thinking person who understands that without systems, life won't be successful. I'm also a founder and president of 2 business organizations, the DC chapter of Conscious Capitalism, and as well as the Greater Business League of Greater Washington. I'm also a gentleman who's been in real estate, like I said, for over the last 30 years. Bought my first property when I was 22 in Washington, DC. Went through every property you can think of, because I didn't know what I was doing. I let someone talk me into it. And even though I made money at the end, going through that process, which was a 5-year process, I lost a lot of money in that process, a lot of painful mistakes, tenants taking me to court because I didn't know what I was doing. And just every mistake that you could possibly think of, I went through that on my first deal. Fortunately for me, the timing went well. And so I was still able to make some money, because this was before the boom started in DC. And so that same house that I bought for $112,000 in 1998, now sells for $975,000. So just kind of shows you that if you buy at the right time, buy in the right market, real estate, time can cure all wounds. And that's definitely kind of the case with me. I'm an entrepreneur. I run an organization called I'm a chief value creator for the King Connections, as well as my other organization, CB Nexus. Conscious Business Nexus is my business directory for conscious business leaders. Then I also created a Conscious Real Estate Investors Roundtable, which I call a ConsciousRT, for individuals who are interested in investing in real estate with a higher purpose. My 6 core principles, so you can know who I am. Value is something I believe in, live in my life, according to that. Purpose, service, wisdom, faith, and love. So those are my core principles. That's enough about who I am. Again, I bring 30 years experience to the table. I've purchased over 30 properties using a lease option strategy in Baltimore City. I've gone through several different real estate renovations. I'm connected, and I work with over 10 different real estate developers who know Baltimore City, and they've renovated over 150 homes total with their vast experience. So I'm very familiar with the city, very experienced and familiar with the real estate investing process, the renovation process, and then I connected to the city as far as Baltimore City when it comes to buying property for them, as well as understanding how to navigate and choose the best directions in this city. So enough about me. So let's go back to discussing what we consider to be the 7 keys to real estate development for conscious leaders. So now we're getting there to half of the hour. So unfortunately, I won't be able to get into everything in this webinar. So consider this to be just an introduction session that I recommend that everybody who's interested in knowing more about the roundtable and about investing in real estate, this is really the webinar for you. It's going to help you really gain a better understanding of what the roundtable is all about. Again, the 10 key mistakes I see investors make, we just went through. You can figure out where you are if you hadn't started. I definitely want to make sure you understand those 10 keys and avoid those as much as possible. I understand this. Don't believe any idea, any ad, or any suggestion that somebody sends you that says you can buy real estate with no money down. That's a lie. That's false marketing. That's clickbait. That's whatever it is to get you into action on their behalf, to get you to act in a way that is beneficial to them and not you, right? Now, it's true you can buy real estate with no money out of your pocket. That is true. But if you're new to real estate investing, you don't have any experience in real estate investing, then the likelihood of you being able to use other people's money, that's an OPM, other people's money, is very unlikely. Because ask yourself this question: would you give your money to somebody who just told you, listen, I'm about to start real estate investing. I've never done it before. I don't know what I'm doing. And I would like to take your capital and go out here and get this real estate investing business started. Who would say yes to that? Would you say yes to that? More likely you're going to say no. You're going to say hell no, right? Excuse my language. You're not going to give anybody your capital to go out here and learn and discover and waste. So don't expect someone else to give you their capital with your experience not being there as well. So get rid of the idea that you can get in this business, with no money down. Yes, with none of your money down, but again, the possibilities of that happening are less and less. And the only reason the guru is saying that because that person has experience, they have systems, they know what they're doing. Yeah, they can go get capital from somebody else, but you being a newbie is not going to be that easy. So this is why I say be prepared to bring some capital to the table. Now, the minimum I recommend that you need to play this real estate investment game is about $25,000. That's my personal recommendation, my years of experience. Now, you don't have to have that. You can really get started with that money down, but you got to convince other people to put their capital up. And so to get other people to put their capital up, it's going to require you to have some knowledge, some skills, and you're going to have to spend money to acquire those knowledge and those skills, right? So money is going to be spent one way or the other. You have to buy tools. You're going to have to buy marketing information. You have to pay for some kind of courses. Now, again, a lot of these people give a lot of great information for free online, a lot of great information for free, but you're not going to make money for free. You're not using free information. And for the people who can now argue with me and say they did, to say, I was able to get started with real estate investing with no money down. I had no knowledge. I just used Google, watched a lot of videos. And then I went out and bought my first deal, managed that first deal, sold that first deal, and made money. Then share your story with me. I would love to hear it because you're an outlier. You're not the rule. You're the exception to the rule. And most people are not going to be able to duplicate what you've been able to do. So hopefully you're not thinking that you can do what this person claims they did. I still challenge them. I'm sure if we really analyze every aspect of their deal, that they either spent money somewhere that they're not thinking of, or they paid for a mentor somewhere along the way, or they lost money, or they didn't make as much money as they thought they could have. So those are going to be one of the scenarios. But see, right now, what we're looking at right now, and I quickly want to go through these 7 keys to real estate development for conscious leaders, because this is where the core of the Conscious Real Estate Investors Roundtable, ConsciousRT for short, is all about. It's really making sure that you understand these 7 keys. Because again, without understanding these 7 keys, I guarantee you that your experience as a real estate investor in Baltimore City is going to be more painful, more costly, more frustrating, and definitely possibly put you out of business than anything else you can deal with. So let's go through these 7 keys quickly. All right, let's start off with strategy, number 1. So again, I talked about strategy being one of the 10 problems that I see real estate investors make. No exit strategy. Well, here, strategy also applies to no exit strategy, as well as your overall investment strategy. Like, why are you buying real estate? What has attracted you to make you say, real estate is something I want to purchase? I want to get in this business of buying blighted property and doing something with it to make a profit. What's driving that desire, that urgency? So be clear on that. Have a strategy worked out. My strategy, real estate investing, is to transform communities, to build a conscious community throughout marginalized, racially oppressed, blighted communities, starting with Baltimore City. I want to raise $1.5 billion, billion with a B, to invest in 6 major cities in the next 5 years, $250 million in each city. That's my strategy, right? Or that's my plan, I should say. My strategy is for utilizing the roundtable to build connections, relationships with impact investors, city leaders, other conscious leaders, home buyers, homeowners, individuals who align with that mission, that purpose, and those my principles I shared with you earlier. So that's my strategy, to come to Baltimore City and start buying blocks of properties that we can turn over these neighborhoods and build conscious communities. That's my strategy. And I'm gonna go more into my strategy more in depth in another video, but I just want to give you the overall idea that you got to have a strategy first and foremost. And again, these 7 keys are hierarchical. So that's number 1. That's not just 1 of 7. That's where you start. Strategy first. Clarity on that. Number 2, neighborhood. As I said before, Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods. There's over 265 different neighborhoods in Baltimore City. And you want to make sure you get familiar with not all the neighborhoods, but what neighborhood really appeals to you, right? As far as price points, as far as the housing conditions, what type of housing structure it has, such as is it row houses. The Baltimore City pretty much runs a gamut of the type of properties you can find. You can find single family detached houses. You can find row houses. You can find multi-family buildings, apartment buildings. You can condos. It pretty much has all those. And depending on the neighborhood, one of those type of housing stocks dominates the others. So you want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what neighborhoods you're interested in. Also, your knowledge of neighborhoods, such as, is there public transportation in that neighborhood? What job industries in that neighborhood? What's the crime statistics in that neighborhood? What's the master plan for the neighborhood? Is the city doing anything, making any plans to do any kind of major investing in that neighborhood? Is it in an empowerment zone? Is it in an opportunity zone? Right? All this stuff is relevant to help you make a decision about the neighborhoods. Are there a lot of black block captains on those blocks within those neighborhoods? How many properties are owned by the city in those neighborhoods, right? This is the type of stuff you want to know before you really begin to lock in on one neighborhood, but you want to begin to start coming in with those questions and get that kind of data to help you inform your decision. Next, you want to go to condition of not only the property, the condition of the neighborhood, the condition of the block, the condition of the people on that block. All that condition is very important because, again, you're not just buying a property, you're buying a neighborhood whether you want to or not. So what I'm telling you is think broadly in those terms, understand how many blocks make up a neighborhood, how the people in the neighborhood are the people that you can build with, that, once you tell them that you want to help transform the neighborhood, that you want to make the neighborhood thriving, you want to make sure that the neighborhood benefits them as a stakeholder, they support you in that endeavor. Or are those people going to be mostly renters and don't care about what your goals are, I don't want to talk to you, and not interested in that? you want to know the difference, and you want to avoid those blocks in those neighborhoods where people are, opposed to your higher purpose and your ideal of transforming neighborhood, and align yourself with the blocks and neighborhoods where people welcome you with open arms. And then there's the condition of the property. Is it a shell? Is it something that's, just as we like to say, a facade? It just has an address and there's no roof, there's no back walls, there's no plumbing. Everything's collapsed inside, which is going to cost you over $100,000 in renovation. Or is it something that you can just buy and all it needs is just paint, carpeting, outside landscaping, and then you're ready to put it back on the market, So where the condition is, know that as it relates to the property. So then now we finally get the price. So you see, price for me is number 4. It's not number 1, not number 2, not number 3, it's number 4. Because if my strategy is off, the neighborhood is bad, the condition of the property is horrible, I can care less what the price is. Because to be honest, you can get houses for Baltimore for free, right? How many people believe when I say that you can get a property in Baltimore City for free? Someone would just give you the house. Now, why would they do that? You should already think now that someone's willing to give you a house, they're not willing to give you a house that's great, that you can move in, that's just truly going to be a come up for you. They don't give you a property that's full of problems, from being a bad neighborhood, owing tax debt, owing liens and fines and violations. It's going to be that type of scenario where somebody's giving you a house. So you're going to take on a lot of debt, a lot of issues, a lot of problems, which is going to cost you immediately money for their problems. So price is relative, right? And then of course, price is also going to be consistent with this rule. The cheaper the house is to buy, the least expensive a house is to buy, the more expensive the repairs are going to be. Remember that. Lower cost, higher repairs. You're not going to get low cost and then low repairs. That scenario does not work. So if you get a house for $5,000, more likely it's going to be from the city, and you're going to put over $100,000 in the renovation of it. So now you got to have the capital to do that in order to make that happen, or you just wasted your money buying a property. You're going to waste more money paying taxes on it, water bills, people breaking in it, and then you being charged and liable, all of those things. So price is really relative and relevant in the context of your overall strategy, neighborhood, and condition. Number 5 is social capital. Again, we talked about social capital briefly before. Again, social capital is your character and track record of being a good person that people can refer and depend upon. Those are my short answers for social capital. So a definition of social capital. And social capital is key to be a successful real estate development, because social capital attracts financial capital. You think that Mark Zuckerberg right now could have any problem raising capital for his endeavors? Jay-Z could have any problem raising capital for his endeavors? No, because not only because they're rich, it's because their social capital is there, their track record is there, that people would trust and believe in them and want to invest in them and their ideals. So just have that in mind and keep that forth, that you want to build your social capital. And of course, with the roundtable, we teach in all 7 of these areas. We help you improve every single aspect of it so you can understand all the 7 keys. So when you actually start developing the real estate in Baltimore City, you come armed with information, you come armed with resources, you come armed with social capital, and more importantly, you have this higher purpose to get things done. Number 6, team. Team is key and critical to your real estate investment endeavors. If you don't have the right team with you, then you're not going to be successful. Again, your teams will consist of your realtor, your financial advisor, your contractors, your marketer, your business professional, graphics, video guys. We're going to go into each of these 7 keys over the next 10 weeks. It's going to be a 10-week webinar series that you can get access to. We're going to pretty much provide this information as content for you, but I just want to make you understand it's critical to have a team, folks. Your mentor is your team. Your coach is your team. There's a difference between your coach and your mentor. Your mentor is someone that's going to guide you and help you make the right decisions to avoid making mistakes, right? They've either done it. So that's what your mentor, that's what you're looking for. Someone who has the criteria and qualifications and experience of doing something you want to do, and they can help walk you through that with less problems because you're learning from their mistakes. Where a coach is someone who's going to hold you accountable to what your goals or your plans are, kind of an accountability partner. When you say, I'm going to look at 30 houses on a weekly basis, and depending on how often you talk to your coach, if it's on a weekly basis, they're going to make sure that you look at all 30 houses. They're not going to be interested in hearing your excuses. Well, no, I was going to look at 30, but then it got late. I didn't get a chance. I had to take my son here, pick up my daughter there. I had to work late, extra hours at work. All the reasons that you think are justifiable, the coach is going to say, you got to understand that those scenarios can always going to come up, and you got to still be committed to looking at 30 properties one way or another. So either you got to change your properties to less than 30, which means you're going to reduce your ability to get properties in quicker, but then, or you're going to, co-create with some other people. You might say, I need to do this with other folks. So, I can't do all this on my own. So let me get 2 other people, and now that becomes your team as well. Now you got 3 people, and between 3 of you all, looking at 10 properties each, that's 30 properties a week. And that's how you begin to expand and scale. And then finally, systems. Again, systems, talked about that before, your marketing system, your database systems, your systems for your network and the number of people that you know, your contractors, your team, and then your systems for just how you go about communicating, your conscious platform. I'm gonna get more into all these things later on into later lessons, but I just wanted to lay out to you today's session, the 10 problems facing Baltimore City real estate investors, and then the 7 keys to real estate developing for conscious leaders. So if you want more information, or if you want to sign up for this free video series over the next 10 weeks, then send your name and email address in the link below. I'll get you registered for it. You can also get on schedule a quick 15-minute call with me. I'll answer some basic questions for you, kind of guide you through the process. But of course, the Roundtable is a business organization. Our goal is to invest $250 million in Baltimore City. So I'm looking for people who have money, who want to be investors, who's willing to take action right now. I'm not looking for tire kickers. But if all you want to do is just get free information and you just want to gather data, I'm not mad at you. The course is here, but you got to exchange your name, your email address in order to get this content. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached 5 minutes before the hour. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank everyone who's still listening to the end. Feel free to share this video with anybody you have. Like I said, you can contact me. You'll see my name and information at the end of the video, where you can contact me at king@kingconnections.org, which is my email address, or king@ConsciousRT, that's ConsciousRT, R as in round, T as in table.com. You can visit both websites at ConsciousRT.com or kingconnections.org. So I want to thank you for your investment of time and energy, and look forward to building with anybody who's interested in transforming this city. Let's do it together. Let's make this world a better place. Appreciate you, and I wish you a blessed and productive evening. Great day. My name is King. I'm a chief value creator for the Conscious Real Estate Investors Roundtable, a company whose mission is to bring economic transformation to Baltimore City through real estate and business development. We are investing $52 million over the next 5 years into redeveloping over 300 residential homes, commercial businesses in Baltimore City. Our goal is to look for and identify other conscious-minded investors and developers who want to invest and develop with a higher purpose. That sounds like you, then we have a series of tours and workshops that we're going to be able to help you understand to get more information on investing in Baltimore City, how to analyze the neighborhood in Baltimore City, how to implement a buy-the-block strategy in Baltimore City, to learn more information about the Opportunity Zone and how to create an Opportunity Fund. But more importantly, you're going to learn how to engage with local stakeholders and do development without displacement. If it sounds like something you're interested in and you want to be a part of the movement, come to our website at ConsciousRT.com, that's ConsciousRT.com, you see on the banner, and join us for one of our tours. And I guarantee they will not only change your life, but for you to change the life of thousands of Baltimoreans as well. Thank you for your time.